There are two big cities in Europe that haven't dominated European football. It's Rome and it's Berlin. The two of the biggest cities in all of Europe. It's amazing that if you think about the history, the recent history, the way Champions League is, that we don't have those two cities.
Yeah, I mean, under Ranieri, Roma have won 9 of their 18 matches since he took over in November. They're unbeaten in their last 8 Serie A matches now, and they've been scoring a lot more than they've been conceding, which is always a good sign for teams. And they've now won 2 of their last 3 away from the Olimpico after being winless in their first 6 under Ranieri. I mean, this team, Tony, on their third manager, they needed this to be the outcome.
Yeah, and this is the reason they bring a guy like Ranieri in, right, is to, one, stabilize the ship, right, get things going in the right direction. And it wasn't pretty in the beginning, but he's got guys like Hummels playing well, Paredes, who was injured today, but been incredible, Angeliño, guys like this, that Dybala we knew was a special player. But we were kind of asking, where was that special sauce for a little bit under De Rossi, of course, under Juric as well. We didn't see it, and as you mentioned, was about to walk out the door. Now he looks like the Dybala that we saw a couple of years ago. He looks free in his play. He looks happy. He's got a smile on his face. He's got a role that is for managers, Aly, is a very, the roaming number 10 type role is very difficult for managers to embrace sometimes in modern football. We don't see a lot of it, right? You have to let those guys just be themselves and go and find the game and find where they can be dangerous. Ranieri's done a super job with this team.
With Dybala under Juric, the guy was chasing the ball around in the midfield. He was so far away from the goal. He's wasting all of his energy. Now, Ranieri, he understands Dybala. For me, Dybala is the purest talent we have in Serie A. Now, he has injuries, he has consistency problems, but with the ball at his feet, there's nobody like Paulo Dybala for me. And to get that out week in and week out is something important, because Roma are a different team when Dybala's within the lineup and when he's not. So the fact that he's pulled on all these strings makes Ranieri special. We could look at the stats, we could look at the numbers, we could look at the tactics. That's all important. Ranieri brings the intangibles too. He brings the understanding of Roma. He brings the connection back to it. And for me, he's almost been like a shield between the ownership, who's had a lot of problems, and the fans. And I love what he said last week, where he said, yes, I'm happy we're getting results, but what makes me more happy is that Roma fans are proud to watch the team again. That was lost. The beginning of the season was a disaster. You said it before, Aly. We all thought Roma was going to fight for a Champions League spot again, finally, and then they don't. They had their worst start after 16 games, 2 points above relegation at a certain point. So to be able to steady this ship, it's not an easy task, and you pay for experience, like a guy like Ranieri, who comes out of retirement to save Roma.
Yeah, Tony, we talked about it on our Europa League coverage. 4 guys just trying to kick his feet up in Florida, relax a little bit,
iced tea and
be
sit
your
down
neighbor.
Watch some games, and here he is. And you got to imagine, like, the cries, they already have started coming out if he can stick around another year. I think the task is tough for him now, right? He has steadied it both, as Marco says, on and off the field. On the field, though, he's doing it his way. Can you find somebody now to replace you that does it your way? I don't think that's easy, right? Because I think we're always looking at young, and I love it, right? We're looking at young, progressive managers that will, take chances. That's not what this side has been built around. It's got good attacking pieces, but it's built around organization, and he's gotten it organized. Can you find somebody to replicate what you're doing, or do you listen to all the cries that say, Claudio, one more year, right? Like, can you do it one more time? What would I do? Yeah, no, look, I'd be in Florida golf course. That's it.
Hey, he didn't rule it out.
No,
he said, I never thought I was going to be here now, so who knows next year. But I think
never say never.
It's a good strategy, though, because he's supposed to be a director. If all things go well, he's going to be a director for Roma, which is, I think, is a smart way of doing it. Roma have gone in weird directions. If you look at their sporting directors in the last years, they got all these random pieces that didn't really have Serie A experience, that didn't understand the players that you need in this league. And Ranieri's going to know exactly what that is. So I trust his opinion on who he's going to choose for this project come the summer. There's a lot of big name rumors out there. Ancelotti's the one that all the Roma fans are dreaming of. We'll see what happens with Real Madrid. But, I mean, things are looking better for them. And I think he's got his heart in the right place. He said when he came in, if I join Roma, I'm not letting ownership tell me, oh, we have a guy on a contract, don't play him this game because we're going to have to pay him another couple million. That doesn't exist. I'm putting the best team to make Roma win. And I think in the past, they got caught out with different types of managers and different directors who didn't always have their best interests in hand. Ranieri
is called the Tinker Man for a reason. We talked about how much Dybala has benefited with Claudio Ranieri being at the helm. Marco, who else has really benefited under Ranieri and his tactics and his approach?
Tony mentioned Paredes, who I think is a great shout, but also Angeliño has been massively important for them. And it's kind of simple, again, just route one tactics. We know what Angeliño is really good at. Look at the goals that he scored. Look at the balls that he sent in from that left side. He's great at crossing it in. A player with a lot of experience and was outcasted. Under Juric, he was playing as a center back. And the greatest thing is his first press conference from Ranieri, they asked him, they said, please, can you just promise us we're never going to have to see Angeliño play as a center back? And I think we got the clip, but he agrees to it because it just makes sense.
Yeah, let's roll that clip.
Buongiorno mister. Volevo chiederle se ci promette che non vedremo più Angeliño terzino, cioè difensore centrale, e se secondo lei Sule e Dybala possono giocare assieme.
Lo prometto.
You need to really answer the question.
The face.
The face was perfect.
Does he have an enemy, do you think, Ranieri?
Not at this desk.
I'm sure the team you're playing against.
You cried when he initially announced his retirement.
Yeah, I told you last week. I wasted my tears. Like, now I got to do it again because he's such an icon in Italian football, and he's done it. Like, I can't. I know we're talking about this. I can't get past like Leicester City and what was that 14, 15 season, and like the things that he's done in his career have been incredible. So as an Italian American, there's a sense of pride, right, in watching him, and he's done such great things with this group. I'm amazed at what he's doing because this looked like a sinking ship. Started with De Rossi leaving after 4 games, and then all hell broke loose in that entire stadium, right? Juric just wasn't the right guy, and it just was sinking and sinking, and somehow he's turned this thing around, which is amazing to me. But to your point about, I'm here, I'm going to do it my way. You don't bring a guy like Ranieri here to not allow him to do it his way, right? Or else don't bring him to the club. So we also have to give them credit for allowing him and not stepping on his toes with any of these things.
I think he was probably looking at that in that clip, and he's like, how are they playing Angeliño as a center back? He couldn't believe it. He even said the same thing about Hummels. They asked him, he said, oh, is Hummels not going to be important to your project? He said, do you guys realize that he was playing in a Champions League final just a couple of months ago? And, okay, I'm not saying that Hummels is a solution. He's not going to fix all the defensive problems. But if you have Hummels, you got to make the most out of it. And I think that's exactly what this man does. He's able to understand that each player has a different way that they need to be communicated with. A different player wants to be in a different zone. And I think you can't isolate important leaders. Otherwise, you start losing that dressing room. He's been in a million different dressing rooms. He understands that. And that's not to say that that's everything, but it's a big piece to this puzzle because when you look at Roma and you look at the way that they got a result against Napoli last week, that was unimaginable. At the beginning of the season, at a certain point, I would have counted Roma out. The fact that they come into a match, they did it against Tottenham as well in the Europa League. That is what was lacking in this squad. Because there's a couple of really talented pieces in the midfield, in attack. On their day, Dovbyk, they signed the top goal scorer of La Liga last season. He's getting all of these things to click, and that's exactly what Roma fans want to see. Yeah,
Roma, they've got a bit of ground to cover if they want to try and push for a Champions League spot this season, despite how good of a job Ranieri has done turning this thing around. It would be a lot of things would have to go their way. I guess we'll put it that way. And now they are out of Coppa Italia too, Tone, but Europa League is alive and well, that dream for them. How do you kind of envision the Roma approaching, where they're at in these competitions for the rest of the season?
Aly, the Champions League mountain, it was too high to climb when Ranieri got there, and it still is. But Europa League, that would be massive. I think, though, a big picture, of course you want to play in Europe, but I think big picture, you want to go into next season thinking that you have a legitimate shot to compete for Champions League. I think that's what he's there to set this club up for. There are 2 big cities in Europe that haven't dominated European football. It's Rome and it's Berlin. The two of the biggest cities in all of Europe. It's amazing that if you think about the history, the recent history, the way Champions League is, that we don't have those 2 cities. And Rome in particular, it would be so great to have them part of Champions League and have them consistently, year in, year out. If you ever bring a guy like Ancelotti in, I mean, that is the minimum expectation, right? Is you're going to you're going to compete for a Champions League title at some point while he's there, because that's the only place a guy like him goes.
I think the important thing for the Europa League, there's a lot of good teams in the Europa League that you have to look at. But Roma in the past, they've prioritized European competition. They won the first edition of the Conference League, and for some people that's a small club. But look at the way Mourinho got a tattoo of the Conference League. For Roma, it meant a lot. They went to the Europa League final. I was there on the ground. They lost to Sevilla and penalty kicks. And it was heartbreak. You had Roma fans, young kids crying because they want to win something. We were hoping maybe in the Coppa Italia they could have done it. Obviously, it was not possible. But it would be a dream come true if they could get far and win something for Ranieri. If they get to Champions League, okay. But the Europa League, I would love to see them in this knockout competition go far, but I don't have my hopes that high.
Yeah, Roma, they got to get through the knockout round playoff tie first and foremost. That is what they've got